Okay, so let me say something that could probably sound dumb. A midfielder who doesn't score that many goals, a player who isn't even the face of his national team, a guy who isn't even in the same spotlight as Mbappe or Holland, could still win the Ballon d'Or. And that player is Joao Neves. And before you close this video, I know what you're thinking. A 21-year-old central midfielder, Ballon d'Or, there's no way. But hear me out. I'm not here to hype him up. I'm not here to talk about potential. I'm here to talk about what has already happened and what is about to happen on May 30th in Budapest. Because Joao Neves isn't just a great young player anymore. He is the engine behind the most dominant European side in football right now. And if PSG lift that Champions League trophy against Arsenal at the end of this month, the conversation completely changes. Stick with me. This is the case for Joao Neves to the Ballon d'Or. Let's start from the top, because not everyone knows the full story. Joao Neves, born on September 27th, 2004, in Tavira, Portugal, he comes through Benfica's academy, and within one season of making his professional debut, he's already winning the Primeira Liga title and being voted the league's best midfielder for 5 straight months. At 19, PSG paid around 60 million euros for him in 2024, and honestly, that already looks like a steal. Because what this kid has done in just 2 years at the highest level is borderline ridiculous. Here's what I want you to understand before we get to stats and trophies. It's the type of player he is. He's not a flashy number 10, he's not a goal scoring machine, he isn't even a stats machine either. He's the guy that just makes everything click. The guy who reads the game 3 seconds to 10 seconds before everyone else. The guy who wins the ball back before the press even begins. He's like the conductor, the heartbeat of the team. And historically, players like that don't win the Ballon d'Or easily. Luka Modric had to wait until he was 33. Busquets never won it. Not even Kante. The award has always been biased toward attackers and goal scorers. So for Joao Neves to win it, he needs to do something extraordinary. And here's the thing, he's kind of already doing that. Now, let's talk about trophies. Because the Ballon d'Or is basically a trophy driven award at this point. Look at what Joao Neves has done since joining PSG. He's won the UEFA Champions League, the Ligue 1, the Coupe de France, the Trophy des Champions, the UEFA Super Cup, and the Nations League. At just 21 years old, he already has 13 career titles. 13. That includes two Champions League appearances, with PSG now in the final again, against Arsenal on May 30th. If they win that, he will have won back to back Champions Leagues. Only the second club since Real Madrid in 1990 to do that. The Ballon d'Or committee loves Champions League winners, always has. And if PSG win this final, Neves will have been a crucial part of arguably the greatest 2 year run in PSG's history. Who even said arguably? It is the greatest 2 year run in PSG's history. And the trophies are there. The stage is there. Now let's talk about whether he is there. Alright, let's get into the numbers because I know some of you are stat heads. In the Champions League this season, Neves has played 13 matches and averaged a 91.4 passing accuracy. For a central midfielder in the knockout stages of the UCL, that is elite. He's averaging around 9 kilometers covered per game. This guy never stops running and zero yellow cards. Yeah, you heard that right. It's zero. In the PSG side, that aggressively presses and plays on the edge constantly. And in Liga in this season, he has 5 goals in 18 matches for a defensive midfielder. His goals per 90 minutes puts him in the top 86th percentile of all Ligue 1 players by XG output. His expected threat ranking in offensive contribution sits at 10th overall in the league. For someone whose primary job is to protect the defense and recycle possession, the attacking contribution is ridiculous. And then there's the stuff that stats don't capture. The tackle against Bayern in the semi-final, 4 tackles in one night, winning the majority of his duels. Sky Sports specifically called him out as completing the joint most tackles in that match. In the biggest game of the season, in the away leg against Bayern Munich, Neves was the best defensive midfielder on the pitch. Against Manchester City last season, 7 tackles, 7 from 7. Perfect. That's not a player just, showing up. That's a player dominating. And remember, he broke Cristiano Ronaldo's record to become the youngest Portuguese ever to reach 30 Champions League appearances. He's 21, and that's CR7's record. Just let that sink in for a second. Now, here is where it gets interesting. And this is the argument that most people are sleeping on. The 2026 World Cup is happening this summer in the USA, and Portugal are going to be there. Neves literally scored a hat trick in November to help secure their qualification in a 9-1 win against Armenia. His first senior international goals, and he goes on and gets a hat trick. Unbelievable. Now, the Ballon d'Or voting period covers up to the end of July, which means the World Cup counts. Think about what happened with Modric in 2018. He won the Champions League with Real Madrid and took Croatia to the World Cup final. That combination, club dominance and international impact, is what flipped their narrative and broke the Messi Ronaldo duopoly. Neves could be walking into the exact same storm. Champions League winner, potentially back to back. Nations League winner, World Cup contender with Portugal. If Portugal go deep in that tournament, Neves is pulling the strings in the midfield. The way he has been, the voters will have no choice but to notice him, at the very, very least. The World Cup is the global stage, and Neves is about to play on it with everything to prove. Okay, I'm not going to pretend this is straightforward, but let's be real about the competition. Usman Dembele has been pretty on fire. I'm pretty sure he has like around 33 goals and like 10 assists, and people are already talking about him as the favorite. And if PSG win the Champions League, a lot of credit will go to him as the attacking star. That's the traditional Ballon d'Or narrative. The guy who scores the goals gets the award. Kvara has been brilliant. Due is unbelievable. There are a lot of other names. But here's the argument. The Ballon d'Or has been evolving. Luka Modric proved it can go to a midfielder who orchestrates rather than just scores. Rodri won in 2024. The voters are increasingly recognizing the players who control the game, not just the ones who finish the chances. And in PSG's machine, who controls the game? Who's the one making sure the press works, the transitions are clean, and the defensive shape holds? Who's the one the opposition specifically has to plan to stop in midfield? Joao, Neves. Dembele gets the glory, but Neves makes it possible. And if this PSG side wins back to back Champions Leagues, at some point the football world has to ask who is the best player on this team? Not the most exciting, not the most clinical. The best, the most important. And my whole argument is that the answer is Joao Neves. So let's paint the picture here. Let's say it's June 2026. This is May, but like it's in a month. And the World Cup is wrapping up. PSG have just been in Arsenal in Budapest on May 30th. Neves has a man of the match performance. PSG are back to back Champions League winners. He lifts the trophy. Then the World Cup. Portugal tear through the group stages. Neves is the midfield anchor, the metronome, the guy winning duels and spraying passes and popping up with crucial goals. Portugal reach the semi finals, maybe even the final, probably the final. By the time the Ballon d'Or votes are submitted, his CV reads back to back Champions League winner, Ligue 1 champion, Nations League champion, World Cup finalist, youngest Portuguese player in UCL history, 13 career titles at 21 years old. Tell me how you wouldn't vote for that. Here's the bottom line. João Neves is not just a generational talent, he's a generational winner. The kid has been collecting trophies since he was a teenager, and he's not stopping now. The Ballon d'Or has never been won by someone so young with his kind of trophy haul. The opportunity is right in front of him, Budapest. the World Cup, the biggest stages in world football. All he has to do is show up. And based on everything we've seen so far, that's exactly what he does. Drop a comment. Do you think he can actually win the Ballon d'Or? I'd like to hear it. And give me more ideas to make more videos about different players. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Joao Neves.